Good evening. We're just trying to get it together here. I'm Marge Schiffer, the chair of the Pastoral Council, and I have never run an annual meeting before, so this will be very interesting. We would like to begin with prayer.
Again, good evening, and another installment of our annual meeting. It's a great opportunity to grow in who we are as a parish, to self-reflect on who we are, and from whether you're at home or here in the church. We appreciate your time to be here and gather. So let's take a moment in prayer again, as we do in the Eucharist, as we do in the many meetings and gatherings that we have. We just take a moment to remind ourselves that we're not alone, that we're here in the ways and the grace of God through the Holy Spirit, that as we gather as Pastoral Council, as Finance Council, as many committees, as staff, that we're all coming together as the apostles did many years ago, to hear the words of Jesus, to hear that sense of grace that God has for us in that moment, and to allow us to see what's the next step. That then leads us to the next step, and the next step, and that is the growth of parish, the growth of church in our world today. So bless us, give us that wisdom we need, the opportunity to be obedient to who you are, and yet to know within our hearts and souls what is it that resurrection needs, and who we are as resurrection to continue to move forward. Bless, and especially those most in need in our parish, those who are hurting at this time, opportunities of grief that have come along for some of our parishioners, some financial issues that have come along as well for some difficulties in families, relationships, job situations. There are many things in which we need you as our God to come in and to heal, to strengthen, and to give us direction. So bless and strengthen us as we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I too would like to thank you for coming. Jenny, if you could put the agenda up. We are going to let the staff introduce themselves because we have so many new people on the staff, so some of them are here. We're going to have a Finance Council report, and we'll do a little summary of some of what's been going on this past year. At some point, we're going to approve the minutes from last year's meeting, which was a Zoom meeting, and then we'll have some open discussion time, and hopefully close. I will try and move it along. So I would like to invite the staff to come up. I know they rearranged themselves into pods, and they can probably tell you who's who.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Efferson. I'm the coordinator of faith formation for pre-K through grade 5. I also do family life and sacramental prep.
And I am Mary Vandenbush, and I am part-time, and I work faith formation, middle school, high school confirmation.
Good evening, all. I'm Susan Peralt, and I work with pastoral care, outreach ministry. I also do funeral prep planning, baptism, and RCIA.
Wayne Epperson, liturgist, help with all the aspects of liturgical ministries, and also working with musicians and making sure that is up and running every Sunday for every Mass.
Hello, I'm Jenny Harris. I am the parish business manager. I generally do whatever you guys need me to, so I wear many hats.
Tony is unable to be here this evening. He had a family issue, and so he's mainly our mission outreach person and is doing a lot in developing that area along with the adult formation program as well. Katie is out with her foot, so she is communication and technology, so she is recouping from her foot surgery. What else are we missing? Okay, her and Glenn and Paul are our maintenance people here as well.
I'm Sharon Pfluger. Came to the parish in 1968 as a kid. Now I'm doing I'm doing children's choir, piano, and guitar for other Sacramento programs and for Mass.
Sharon's daughter, Kristen, is also the choir director. She is not here. The staff does a wonderful job, and if you have questions about what they do, don't be afraid to call them. The office is open on Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to noon, and there is not a receptionist anymore. It's a paid position, but they do have 4 volunteer receptionists. Mary Jo Crone, who was the receptionist for years, takes a day. Lindsay takes a day. Rosemary Balone, whose I see is in the back, takes a day, and Betsy Meller takes a morning. And they all have a lot of knowledge and can certainly answer your questions too. I would like to turn things over to Mike Zimmer, who is one of the 2 parish trustees. Mike's position is the parish trustee treasurer, and he is going to do the finance report.
Thank you, Marge. Good transition point here, because I really, we're going to go through some of the numbers, and I think they'll be up on the screen, but really 2 messages this evening that are most important. One is, as a parish, we are very fortunate and blessed to be financially sound, and we weathered this whole pandemic period very well, and that's due to the generosity of the parish members, and as well as the ingenuity of the staff that you just met, and really both are equally responsible for how well things have turned out here, and you'll see that when we get into the numbers a little bit. But I do want to recognize Father Tom and Jenny Harris in particular, because day to day, how the decisions we made over the course of the last 18 plus months now were very wise, very good stewards of the financial resources, and also very generous in terms of some of the things that the parish was able to do to help the community and parish members. So from a financial summary standpoint, the first slide you have summarizes revenue, and you can see the very top line is the sacrificial giving, support of our parish members, and our budget for the year was set at $1.1 million. You'll see the trend over a period of years in a minute on the next slide, but and we actually came in just about $8,000 under that at $1,091,000, which is pretty impressive. And once again, I think we had some people who really helped. But you know, we had certainly thousands who helped that, but we had a number of people who helped make sure that we had the resources to run the parish with some other special giving, and so we're very grateful for that. In addition, the next line is unrestricted donations, and just differentiating that from regular sacrificial giving, which is typically the what we think of as the pledge, paid weekly, monthly, annually, however people decide to give. These are other donations that are made special, kind of over and above donations, and you can see that we budgeted $86,000. We budget that based upon what we have confidence we're definitely going to have, and base our whole operating budget on that. We've been very fortunate over the last number of years to exceed that, and so and that was also true in this last fiscal year. So we had $168,000. That's a big positive variance to our budget, and once again, is pretty consistent with what we've seen for the last several years. In addition, and I'm not going to spend this much time on each line, but it's worth noting endowment distributions are also a big variance. And what you should understand about that is that if you all recall the beginning of the pandemic, March, April of 2020, we would have normally been taking our endowment distributions into our budget and spending that money, and the stock market was down a little bit at that point, and so we deferred because we really didn't need to from a cash standpoint to take the distributions at that point, bumped that into this last fiscal year, And so we really have 2 years of distributions coming up in one fiscal year. So it's a little bit of, you know, it's not real sustainable, but it did fall in this fiscal year. There was an equal amount of deficit the previous year when we didn't take it, so it's really just kind of pushing it from one year to the next. So overall, total revenue at $1,583,000, and that's $177,000, primarily to do the two things we just talked about, over our budget. Sacrificial giving trends I referenced, and I think you know, there's about, I guess, 5 years on this slide, and you can see it goes back to 2017-18 fiscal year when we hit a high of just almost $1.4 million, about $1,373,000 in sacrificial giving. And that number really settled in closer to this $1.1 million number, and now we have you know, 2 consecutive years at that level. We were at $1,111,000 previous year. We're budgeting $1.1 million again this year, and that seems to be kind of a pretty sustainable level in terms of that trend line that you see going left to right. So I think we've reached a equilibrium, and we can grow from there. On the expense side, you know, I mentioned the ingenuity of the staff and just how much work was done to make sure that we were, you know, we're in good shape financially over this last fiscal year. And you can see our total expenses came in about $30,000 under budget. Part of that was personnel, and I think we've all seen how much re-engineering has been done in the office with some really great new people and reorganization of responsibilities, and you know, kudos to Father Tom for taking a look at that and looking at where we could really get more done with equal or less resources. So outstanding work. We did have some things pandemic related in that things like liturgical supplies were down, buildings and grounds expenses were down. The facility just wasn't used as much, and so those things were about $26,000. We did have increased, I mentioned some of the generous support that the parish was able to do. Donations and grants were up about $27,000. Some of those were outreach grants and things like that. So that's what gets us to the net expenses of about $30,000 under budget. And then kind of summarizing on this last page, the one item that we haven't talked about yet is the non-taxable PPP, or Payroll Protection Plan loan that we were eligible for. Most of the parishes in the diocese went ahead and applied for that, and so we received $96,000. That's a forgivable loan. Jenny did a great job of putting that together, and then we applied for forgiveness, and so received forgiveness late in the fiscal year, I think in June. So that shows up as income, as a forgiven loan from that SBA program. The purpose of that program was really for all employers, including us, to be able to sustain employment with the unknown of what was going on. And obviously, at the point we were applying, we were shut down completely, and really not knowing whether that was 2 weeks, 2 months, or indefinitely. So that was a nice shot in the arm. Overall, the rest of the year was pretty normal beyond the things that we just talked about in expenses. And so after capital expenditures, since we really are on a cash basis, we look at it as sort of a net of $73,000. $46,000 of that of the expenses are depreciation, which are non-cash. So our cash, we were actually plus $120,000 to the good for the year, which all things considered, I think is a really strong position to be in, and a very fortunate position to be in. So we start the rebuilding of normal here in really good shape, and we're off to a good start in this fiscal year. The last thing I just want to touch on real briefly is the endowment. We have endowments within the parish resources. And these are funds that have been given over the years, a lot of it back even 20 years ago when we did a campaign for the Family Activity Center. And so overall, we have about $2 million in endowments. We do take draws. You saw that in the income each year for the purposes specified by the donors and for the endowment charters. And over and above that, our investments grow. And so our investments in the endowments grew last year by about $277,000. So, you know, the 12-month cycle of our fiscal year, you know, coincided with some pretty strong market returns. So, so that's a good and growing component of our financial status. So that's what I have. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Marge, did you want Jerry to introduce the Finance Council members? Yeah.
I'd like to thank the Finance Council and Jenny Harris, who is the staff liaison. And for those of you who don't know, I'd like to introduce Jerry Fowler. Jerry, do you want to come forward? Jerry is the chair of the Finance Council. Works very closely with Jenny and Mike, and he can tell you a little bit about some of the other people.
Thank you, Marge. So we are very blessed, as Mike said, and a lot of what the great position we're in, we really do have to, closer, we really do have to look to Father Tom. So in addition to him helping me with my mic holding, he also has done a fabulous job of collaborating. He really has done a fabulous job of collaborating. You wanted me to say that louder. Father Tom has done a wonderful job of collaborating with the Finance Council. He's oftentimes reached out to Mike and I with ideas and suggestions, so we really appreciate it. We have a very good finance team. Mike is our trustee treasurer. We're also blessed to have Brett Reese, who's been with us for a number of years. Seth Cabot was on our team, but he recently moved on. And Dan Morno, who's also not present, but obviously with us in spirit. Andy Arnold and Joanne Zip. So that's our team. So again, if anybody has any questions. So again, thank you.
No questions at all. Thank you, Jerry. I gotta find where I am. The Resurrection Pastoral Council is composed of 10 people, and some of them are here, and so I would like them to come forward so they can introduce themselves. Come on forward. The trustee liaison to the Pastoral Council is Mary Parish, who is the parish trustee secretary. Mary is exercising caution and not coming because she has a cold, and so she said she'd be online. So Mary, wherever you are, we thank you for all you do for us. So I'd ask you to introduce yourself and tell what committee you go with.
I'm Cheryl Martzall, and I'm with Stewardship.
And I'm Trace Martin, and I'm a liaison to the Worship Committee.
Justin Dart, I'm with the Site Advisory Council for Father Alloway.
Trying to take notes here, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm Sherry Moon, and I deal with work with Tony, and that is adult enrichment and spirituality. Thank you.
Sherry is taking notes for Debbie Ruggles, who has been a member of the Parish Council for 5 or 6 years. And Debbie was unable to be here. She has a son in college who came home with a positive COVID, and so she also, as a word of caution, said, I am not going to come tonight. Other council members who are out of town or working: Bob Fry, Mike Guglisi, Ken Zitlow, and Tom Wall. So thank you. Jenny, can we have the slide about committees? Thank you. Along with being active members of the Pastoral Council, and the Parish Pastoral Council provides leadership to the parish and consults with the pastor. They are an advisory board. They are not a policy-making board. They are not a decision-making board. They don't put on programs, but each one of them serves as a liaison to a committee within the parish. Currently, we have 9 committees. The first one that Sherry mentioned is the Adult Enrichment. They promote prayer and continued faith enrichment activities for the adult parishioners. The second one up there is Building and Grounds. They do the overseeing of the safety and care of our facilities. Debbie Ruggles is currently the liaison to that committee. They do all the planning and the implementing for improvements and care of our parish buildings and property. They are really unsung heroes in the background who make sure that our place looks as good as it does. The next one is the Faith Formation Committee. Mike Guglisi is the liaison to that committee. They promote learning and growth in the Catholic faith. That would be the committee that Carolyn Efferson and Mary Vandenbush work with their work with GOD, Generations of Disciples. The next one is Family Life. Family Life develops and coordinates enrichment opportunities and programs for families at different stages in their life cycle. Heather, oh, and I forgot, Heather is Heather here? No. Heather is coming late. Heather Milbach is the liaison to that committee. When she comes in, I'll embarrass her and introduce her. Heather is new to the committee as of this summer. The Family Life Committee is the committee that started the work with the outdoor masses, which have just been a real big hit with parishioners, especially families. The Health and Wellness Committee facilitates and organizes awareness of health and wellness issues and practices. Ken Zitlow has been the liaison to that committee for several years. They do the flu shot clinic, which was going on this afternoon. They try and do healthy hospitality after Mass. They are, again, doing the chair exercise. They have done some spirituality and stretching exercises. They collect the health and wellness items for the local shelters. They are a very active committee. Father Tom would like to point out they give carrots and celery instead of donuts. Because I like carrots and celery, I am fine with that. We don't know who is responsible for donuts, but I think it's Father Tom. Can I have the next slide? The Liturgy and Worship Committee fosters the spiritual life of the parish through liturgy. Therese Martin, as she said, is the liaison to that committee. So if you like the environment and you like the music, and if you don't like the music, Wayne is in the back. Speed up those songs, Wayne. Mission Outreach oversees the outreach programs for the parish. Bob Fry is the liaison to that. In a few weeks, we will have the Sisters from Okolona here. They are one of the things that is involved with the mission outreach. But they also do things that impact our broader community just right here in the Green Bay area. When they collected the bikes, that was part of the mission outreach. The Site Advisory Committee, or as they refer to it as SACS, educates parents and students on the school and grace matters, supports the marketing, enrollment, and retention of Father Alloway School families. Justin Dart is our liaison to that committee. That committee is such a wonderful support for the principal and the staff of Grace School. And they deal with all the matters that deal with the policy, the operations, the budgets, and the programming at the school. Just this past year, they have taken over the script program as well, the school. So Justin is one of the best people on the council for submitting written reports ahead of time. So, well, yeah, that's right. The last committee is this, not the least, is the Stewardship Committee to facilitate awareness to Resurrection's commitment to stewardship and our sharing of time and talents. This year and I think they have in the past, sponsored parishioners to attend an International Catholic Stewardship Conference. They schedule the stewardship talks by parishioners that happen quarterly. And they are trying to do even more with providing a stewardship section in the bulletin so that people have more information on just how to live out their stewardship and share their time, talent, and their treasure. I mentioned that the liaison to the Family Life Committee was Heather Milbach, and Heather snuck in. Heather, do you want to come forward so people can see who you are? Heather has children in school, and she had conferences tonight. And family always comes first, so. Yeah, come all the way up so we can see you on camera. This is Heather Milbach.
Hello.
I said I was going to embarrass you if you came. Not as bad as I embarrassed the people who were not here for all kinds of various reasons. One of the things that we should have done was approve the minutes and the agenda, and because it's the first time I've ever done this, I did not have a copy of the minutes, and Debbie did not send me anything. And so are you going to be able to put them up? No. So I have a copy of the annual meeting from last November. It was done completely on Zoom. Bill Bennett was the person who led the meeting, and they introduced the council members, they introduced the trustees, they introduced the staff. Mike Zimmer did a finance report. They talked a little bit about what was going on the different committees. And I have a copy here for you if anybody wants to look at it. But I guess we need to approve them. So does somebody want to make a motion to approve? Jerry Fowler. And does somebody want to second it? Justin Dart. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Wonderful. Let's approve the agenda that we've just walked through most of. And Jenny can fix this so that she'll put the agenda back up here. Can we have somebody make a motion to approve our agenda? Therese Martin. Got it. And a second? Cheryl, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'd like to open some discussion time. If anybody has any questions or comments.
First of all, thank you, Marge. This is the most professional, well put together annual meeting I've been to ever in my life. And it's like 30 years worth of stuff that you did great first time and you did wonderfully. Thank you. I know it. Oh, next year we'll have donuts. Maybe. Carrots and celery. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Sojo mini grants.
Jenny, where's Jenny? Yes, of course, but you may have some detail, or Sue may have some detail on where they went, but yes. So, you want to maybe talk a little bit about all the good things?
So last year during the COVID period, we came up with a new and a different way to score and rank the grants that were awarded. I believe that information should be on the web page somewhere. Jenny has it. Checks were cut in. Oh, the web page is that Katie's rebuilding. Okay. So yes, we changed the timeline a little bit. We were thrown off by the COVID and not being able to gather in person. We came up with a way to score and evaluate on paper, turned it in, did all of the calculations by hand, and then wrote up the checks. They were distributed, I believe, in May or June of this past year. And now going forward, as Tony comes on as the mission director, he's taking that on, and he will be following a very similar timeline where the grant invitations will go out in November with a due date in January. The committee will evaluate and screen and score during, what do I want to say, early Lent, if you will, and then the checks will be cut in the spring.
I really want to hear from some of you, and for you at home that are watching this, mail in or let us know your reactions to this. As far as where do you see our parish, and what are maybe a couple things that we need to do to deepen our commitment to Christ in prayer, as well as through liturgy. And this is a time for suggestions, whether here tonight or over the next week or so. What do we need to do? We're always looking for more ways to not just improve, but to deepen our own walk with our God and with each other. And especially when we get all of that, how do we outreach, then offer that to others in our community? So a couple things, I'm going to make a couple comments from myself, and then if anybody else has some comments about where you see us going as a parish, jump in. Two things. One is that, first of all, COVID has been really challenging. I mean, I've heard some superintendents of school districts say, I'm out of here. They wanted to quit 10 times over these last couple of years, and and businesses, and it's been really a challenging time for all of us in our world, but for us as a parish as well. And for us as leadership and staff, from the committee members, trustees, we got together a lot to just talk about where do we go with this. Again, there was no precedent. It felt to me almost as a sense where we were starting the parish completely from scratch and nothing was established. The beautiful thing about coming in as a pastor, when everything is going, you just kind of pick up and roll with what's already going. But when there's not a lot rolling, there's not a lot to hang on to and move with. So for me, it was very tiring. It was exhausting. At one point, I reached the point of what I called decision-making anxiety. It's like anything we did had to be weighed against what was it going to do for this? Who's going to be affected? How are we going to do this? Is it a mask? Is it a no mask? Do we do it from home? Is it a Zoom? Everything that happened, we had to go through all the steps every time to figure out how are we going to put this out. And it was exhausting. And the good thing was there wasn't a lot expected. So the things that, there was really nothing expected. People were at home and thinking, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I don't expect it to happen. But we didn't take that. We went with a strong sense of we needed to stay connected to families. And as exhausting as it was, as staff, we came together, and again, the committees came together and said, a lot of it was on Zoom, virtually coming together as I say this, but how can we do it up to that point where it can still be safe and yet being able to meet people where they're at? And the GOD process of putting that together and the packets that went out, and I still have visions of Rosemary in a copier going, more stuff, more envelopes, more, and we all did that, just putting it all together and being able to at least do something. And I can tell you today, I'm sure you hear it as well, the gratitude from people that were able to at least say, okay, we're not alone. And it was very gratifying to be able to do that. Again, as exhausting as it was deeply gratifying to be able to at least do that part. And the other part is, as Marge beautifully said in his wonderful meeting, that a lot of new staff. And there was some turnover and situations that we redirected some of the mission of the parish and looking at what was happening. One of the things that a big move that we did, and this comes actually back from a past pastor who I spoke with, and he said, do not forget, resurrection is about mission. And I said, yes, Bishop. But that strong sense, and as I came on board a couple of years ago, there was I had a strong desire, obviously, in figuring out, well, who is this resurrection? I know I asked you that many times over these last 2 years in my homilies and different situations that I was in. So who is resurrection? Tell me, who are you? And after 2 years plus, that really has come through very strongly. That it's about who we are as people of faith, but not for ourselves. It's about how we do liturgy, but it's not for ourselves. And how we live our lives in faith and hope and stewardship, but it's not for ourselves. And that's that push, that move to move beyond our walls, to be hospitable, inviting to people who come through our doors, to be able to see that the gift of life, the gift of faith that we have in our hearts, again, it has to go through us. It can never end up staying with us. And that's a strong thing. And one of the hires that we did was Tony, and that's his main job, as being able to recognize that as we live our lives here in the parish, what's the extension that goes from here within to somebody outside of us? How can we allow those channels, those bridges, the roads that happen, that we can always say, and we're moving forward, and we're helping out this situation, that situation. And it's been kind of a mindset that's been happening on staff, and I see some of the committees and people talking about it as well, is that, yeah, well, this is who we are and this is what we do, but now what can we do? And there's always that sense of, now what can we do? Where do we go? How can we greet people in a different way? How can we, it's that kind of extra looking out for others, looking out for how we can do things in a way that also affects other people's lives outside of who we are internally as a parish. So, and that's been coming from the diocese as well. I mean, they've been stacking us over the last number of years with information about who we are, each one of us in our parish, what's our parish limits, what's happening outside of our parish limits, what is in the Green Bay area, the Appleton area, the Oshkosh area, Manitowoc area, what is it that's happening in your area that affects you as a parish, and how can you affect your area of what life can be in the Green Bay Diocese and beyond. So again, those are just kind of a couple things that I've been working with, and especially over these last couple of years, from the COVID to the staff renewal and the movement and figuring out our vision as that unfolds. So it's been exciting, it's been exhausting, and it's been very gratifying to be able to recognize what it means to be church. Again, it's been 100 years since we've had a pandemic, and we're really inventing things and moving things forward, and it's given us a great occasion to be able to say, and as we've been saying on staff, what do we need to look at? Everything we do, are we going to stop it? Does it make sense anymore? Are we going to start something new that makes more sense in place of that or alongside of that? And it's been a great opportunity just to be able to be a little more free and open to question why we do what we're doing. Is it really working? Is it effective? Is there something more effective that can happen? Again, one of the things that obviously we've been working on, and that's why Katie has come on as communication technology, is that we're looking at outreach. And one of the things in live streaming masses to having different opportunities for people to come to and gather for meetings, for prayer, that's our future. We're going to continue moving with that. We're not looking to, okay, now we're all back in church again, which we're not yet, But when we get all back in church again, it feels like normal again, that's still going to be a part of our mission. We're still going to put ourselves out there as people, because we're hearing from, not internationally and not hugely nationally, but there are people out there who check us out and are there with us every weekend and sometimes every day. And in the area, Green Bay area, a number of people come in and see where we're at, and it's a great evangelization as well as a great service to those who can't make it here anymore. I've met a couple 90-year-olds who are like, I can make it there, and I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm getting tired. And it's a beautiful option for them to say, I'm still connected. I can still pray with the community. And when he first started, somebody who had a disability, could not make it in. First time in 4 years they ever saw the inside of our church when they looked on their computer screen. And that's a huge gift. And it's something we need to build on, something we need to grow with and do things even more fully in this journey. So again, not just about what we do inside the walls here at Resurrection. How does it affect outside of the walls? How can we take our mission as Resurrection Parish and live that out in the world around us? So that's my little spiel. Any other thoughts that you had out there before Marge takes the mic away and says, we're done?
Okay. All right, just turn around. This morning, when I was in the office, I received a phone call from someone who is in the parish, and she said, how do I find out about what's going on in the parish? I was kind of shocked. I said, well, we have the website. We have a lot of different channels for you to go to find things. I said, you just need to kind of look. And she said, but I don't know. That doesn't help me. I said, well, what would help you? And she said, if my neighborhood would get together. If we would get together. So I have a challenge for the council. I think you need to find out our neighborhoods. And you need to do something to get things going in those neighborhoods. Because I think that's what people are looking for. At least this person was. Because she said that they talk with each other. They communicate with each other quite a bit. And so she said that would be a way for us to share what we know about the parish and what we think about the parish and new ideas and stuff. So I really think that might be a future thing to think about.
No, I just have one question. With all of the wanting to move on, and I hear what you're saying. Has your staff been that eager to make that move? Does each of them have a certain job, and does that move out when we keep moving on? How are they adjusted? I guess is what I'm asking to your desires or to the parish.
Yeah, on the one hand, it's scary turf, right? But it's exciting, I think. As we look to the future, it's really, as a team, we really work well, and the energy and, the updating of each other on what's happening outside, inside, where are we moving? And as he said, the start-stop stuff, we're always looking at. Every time we're starting something, how are we going to do this? As he said, that whole process happens over and over and over every time. And it's just energizing in a lot of ways because so much new and creative energy comes forward. So that's my take.
I would have to agree with that. One of the things that I really liked about Resurrection goes back to your comment about mission. And I think it's really, that's one of the things I find exciting about being on this team is not only how do we pray, how do we learn about the faith, but then how do we live the faith? And one of the things I'm working with the confirmation kids is Acts 1:8, to reach out to the ends of the earth. So that doesn't mean just learn by yourself, but also around the world. So that's why they have pen pals, so that they can find out the needs of another country, and those people will do a service project there. Our kids will do a service project here to match, and then see how friendships develop. And when we develop friendships around the world, it makes it a better place. So that's one of the things that's really exciting here is through Father Tom, we're really encouraged that our faith isn't just prayer, but prayer has to lead us to do. Prayer doesn't save us, it just makes us worth saving. So we need to take that and move into action.
I think as we reevaluate our goals and what it is that we want to accomplish with and for the parish community, what are the goals, and then how can we reach them in new and different ways, and how can we involve more and more parishioners in that effort? So as we expand certain committees and change the way that we do things, it's a work in progress. Sometimes we make some mistakes along the way, but other times we really reap some benefits of having new and additional people involved in things.
I just have a challenge for everybody in church, not necessarily staff, but to reach out to those who don't go to the website, who don't care to electronically communicate. We've got to get to them. They're not going to sign up for things through MSP. They're not going to read the minutes of any meetings on the website. They're just not going to do it. In fact, I don't go to the website very often. I have no idea of any minutes that the parish council has done, ever. Is there a written way? It's just a challenge to reach out to those who do not want to learn electronically.
Just a quick add to that. I keep in mind that it's also both and. I think we need to respect and cater to those who have been here for many, many years and doing many of the ministries that we have going. And I also realize that the younger generations don't like paper. All right. So how do we do that? Do it in a way that, yes, invites people when maybe we need how about a bulletin board? Imagine that concept. But if we do something like that, but the main thrust of where we need to go into the future is electronic. And we have to keep that in mind as far as how we are doing church these days. Right. Correct. Right. Yeah, we build on where our elders and recognizing that the younger generations are the future where we're going.
Well, and I think that Carolyn can probably speak more to it, but as the grandparent of a child who's in First Communion and First Reconciliation preparation, that they had the registration for Generations of Disciples and for sacramental programs, and they sent, not only did it was in the bulletin and on the website, but she sent things to those families that were eligible in paper form, as well as they did stuff through, I think it must be through email. So, I mean, she's hitting both of those kinds of things. The same thing with Generations, that you see it in the bulletin, it's on the website, it comes in the flock notes, but they also send stuff out directly to families who had been involved before and inviting them to come back in and offering it in two ways, whether you do it in person here or online. So I think she's trying to hit those kinds of people. And for those of us who are older, who are not as cognizant of how to work some of the technology, I just, this afternoon I was here, I think you were too, for Hilltoppers, and a speaker, and dessert and coffee, and bingo is something that older people certainly enjoy, and just the social life of getting together. And those things are still going on for the people. And I know that they aren't getting the crowds for Hilltoppers yet, but I think as the pandemic lessens the amount of cases, that will go up. But there had to have been a good 40 to 50 people here this afternoon to hear about vitamins and nutrition, which is a good thing. Vitamin K. Anything else? You're gonna? Oh, okay. Well, I was going to thank them, but you could thank them. We could be a new show here. You need to know where your dog is. Look, she found her way back, see? Yes, I would like to thank people for coming. I would like to thank those who are tuning in at home, too. I would like to thank the staff for the job that they do. Last year and a half, 2 years, have just not been ideal conditions to work for a Catholic parish. And I worked for a Catholic parishes for 37 years, so I know some of the struggles that they had. And so I would just like to thank them and commend them for the things that they are doing. I'd like to thank the Finance Committee and all of the committee members who do things in the background that people don't see. And I'd like to thank Father Tom. He's a visionary. For those of us who are highly not, sometimes it's a little frustrating, but I think he's moving this parish and making us aware that to be a disciple of Jesus and a steward of God's gift means we have to take action. We have to look beyond our parish to the outer world. We have to be res on mission. Now, do you want to say something?
Just real quick, thank you. Ditto to all you said. But just in the sense of the visions that are there needs people that can put it into action. And I don't like doing all of that messy work, so I'm happy to have you all around who can do the rest of the part of it. But again, thank you. As I said, it's not been an easy couple of years, but it really has been easier because of all of you in the parish coming together. And there's been a lot of, from the financial end of things, it's been amazing to see people come in and go, I get it, I can help out a little bit more. And people coming in and saying, okay, we need Eucharistic ministers. I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to do it. And they're going to step up, and they did it. And it's so many situations where people just stepped up and took the extra oomph because, that everybody, we all saw it from our own places of where this is coming from and what the COVID thing has done to us. So people were willing to do that, and Res has been a great example of just everybody coming together and doing what we can do so that we can all move forward in a great positive way. So, closing prayer.
I'm an old school cradle Catholic, and so October is a month dedicated to Mary, and so I thought it would be nice to close together and just say the Hail Mary, the prayer for her. So Ruby, do you want to help us? Okay. Let's say together, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thank you again for coming.